recently, leaving my brother, 14, and dad heartbroken and struggling to cope. I've found myself shouldering most of the household responsibilities due to my dad's and brother's emotional states. My dad hasn't been contributing in the slightest, leaving me exhausted. He's been making requests for me to clean the living room, pick up laundry, cook, walk the dogs, and do various chores. Since my mom used to handle these tasks and I helped her, my dad keeps comparing me to her and expressing disappointment in my abilities. He even woke me up at 6 a.m. yesterday and expected me to make breakfast, despite telling me to skip school. When I prepared scrambled eggs, he criticized the way I made them, saying they were nothing like my mom's perfect scrambled eggs. Feeling frustrated and exhausted, I finally snapped and told my dad that I wasn't his replacement wife and that I couldn't fulfill his expectations. He looked stunned, and my brother quickly left the room. My dad then scolded me for being cruel and insensitive, but I stood my ground and explained that I was too tired to make the perfect scrambled eggs and that he should have tried to AITA for reading explicit books in public. So this is not as serious as most posts here, but I am feeling a bit guilty and thought to ask. I, 28F, was on the train yesterday. It wasn't busy at all. Since it was a long trip, I starts reading a book, on my phone, that has some vey. Am I the asshole for reading racy material on public transportation? I recently found myself in a situation that made me question my behavior. As a 28-year-old woman, I decided to read a book on my phone while commuting on a nearly empty train. The story contains mature and explicit content that may not be suitable for public consumption. A man sitting next to me appeared to be reading over my shoulder, which caught my attention. When I reached a particularly steamy passage, he let out a disapproving noise and expressed his disgust by saying, "How could you read that kind of filth in public?" He went on to label me a pervert, claiming it was sexual harassment. To be honest, I was taken aback by his reaction, expecting perhaps a sheepish glance and a swift turning of his head. However, my response was firmer, and I shot back, "No one told you to look at my phone screen. Should I really read it out loud to you?" The man's face turned bright red, and he hastily changed seats. After reflecting on the encounter, I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. I'm not ashamed of my choices, but I understand that others might be uncomfortable reading explicit content in public. I AITA for refusing to ask my partner if he'll drive my friend to work when I go on maternity leave. I am currently 7 months pregnant and I give my friend a ride to work. I've been doing this the last year because they lived 3 minutes away from me when I was in my old apartment. Am I the asshole for refusing to ask my partner to drive my friend to work while I'm on maternity leave? I've been 7 months pregnant and driving my friend to work for a year now. The reason is that her old apartment was only a 3-minute walk from mine, and I continued to do her a favor even after moving in with my partner. Now that I'm going on maternity leave, my friend is struggling to find a way to get to and from work. She's been trying to figure it out since she found out about my pregnancy, but unfortunately, she's unable to drive due to lack of access to driving schools nearby. I've told her I wish I could do more, but it's just not feasible for me to give her rides while I'm taking care of my newborn. My friend suggested I ask my partner if he would drive her to work, and I flat out refused. We have a demanding work schedule, and my partner has to be at work by 7:30 a.m. Adding an extra 15 to 20 minutes to his daily commute by driving my friend to work would be exhausting, especially considering he'd have to wake up earlier than usual. When my friend joked that my partner should help because he's the one, I AITA for calling my wife crazy after she screamed at our son. Throwaway. Me, 34M, and my wife, Jen, 32F, have a wonderful son named Robbie, 7M. One thing you need to know about Jen is that she is a perfectionist. She's constantly cleaning, sterilizing and organizing things. Are you the asshole for calling your wife crazy after she lost her temper with your son? Throwaway. Me, 34M, and my wife, Jen, 32F, have a lovely 7-year-old son named Robbie, 7M. One thing to keep in mind about Jen is that she's extremely meticulous. She's been diligent about keeping our home spotless since Robbie's birth, but this has created tension in our relationship as I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells to avoid upsetting her. Although I appreciate Jen's dedication to cleanliness, it's become an issue in our family dynamic. Robbie has been upset because he's the only one in his friend group who can't have playdates at our home due to Jen's strict cleaning rules. He's also been restricted from visiting friends, and when he does, he's required to shower immediately after returning home. I've tried discussing these issues with Jen, but she doesn't see things from our perspective. The incident, yesterday, Robbie, Jen, and I were at home. Jen had just finished cleaning the living room carpet and was moving on to the bathroom. Robbie poured himself a glass of milk and went to the living room to watch TV. Call you every time I send you a fax? Will do. Many years ago, before email took over the corporate environment, I worked at a large law firm and sent and received faxes for 8 hours a day. I had 5 fax machines and 2 coworkers. We logged every fax. There was an incoming. I'll be happy to call you every time I send a fax in the pre-email era. I was a key player at a large law firm, spending 8 hours a day sending and receiving faxes. The office had 5 machines, and my team of 2 colleagues and I meticulously documented every transmission. We maintained an incoming log, an outgoing log, and a vital confirmation sheet to ensure accuracy. The opposing counsel was notorious for his unscrupulous tactics, exemplifying the worst of our profession. He would frequently drop crucial documents at the last minute, before a long weekend, causing unnecessary stress and delays. When my colleague approached me, claiming opposing counsel had denied receiving a fax we were certain we had sent, I was skeptical. The confirmation sheet served as solid proof. I suspected opposing counsel's secretary had either misplaced the fax or hadn't delivered it to him. My colleague was well aware of the situation, and opposing counsel had now accused me of negligence and dishonesty, creating an added burden for me. His demands escalated when he insisted that I call his secretary each time we sent him a fax. I refused to indulge him, so I called his secretary and told her I was calling on behalf of my colleague. She assumed the call was for her boss, so AITA for yelling at my husband after he told me to sleep on the bed he ruined. My husband M32 and I F26 both work. We used to work together on chores and cooking, but recently he has been doing pretty much nothing. Note I'm pregnant and I feel sick all the time. Despite that am I the asshole for confronting my husband after he told me to sleep on the bed he ruined? My husband, who is 32, and I, 26, both work. We used to share household responsibilities, but lately, he's been doing almost nothing. I'm pregnant and often feel unwell, yet I still manage to keep up with our home and family life. He's been using his pet's passing as an excuse not to contribute, and I've been tolerant, assuming he was genuinely grieving. However, he's been acting otherwise. He works only 3 days a week, goes out with friends, posts updates on social media, plays board games, and watches Netflix every night, all while appearing to be in a state of relaxation. Last night, I arrived home at 9 p.m. to find that my husband had already eaten dinner and left the dishes for me to clean. I took care of them, had my dinner, and went to bed, only to discover that my side of the bed was stained with milk. I woke my husband up and asked him about the spill, and he told me that he had been watching YouTube on my side of the bed and accidentally knocked over a glass of milk, which he claimed I got fired for this, but worth it waiting tables at a regional specialty pizza place, about